Hey guys, it's Pete and Roxy. Today we're going to talk all things from boredom to how to unpack energy flows and a whole lot more.
So, guys, recently one of the things we've been discussing is how even the smallest of energy patterns can still show up for us to be able to become aware of them and clear. As you guys know, if you've been watching our channel, you'll know that we're all about identifying underlying emotions, which often show up as causal emotions. So whenever you're angry or frustrated or feeling restless or any sort of surface feeling, whenever you're not in your flow state, whenever you're not in that now moment, in other words, you're worrying about the future or you're playing old movies to yourself about the past, there is an energy flow there taking you out of that now moment. Remember, Eckhart Tolle talks about power of the now, standing in the present moment, hence the popularity of mindfulness, because stay in the now moment. What takes us out of that is subconscious fears, frustrations, patterns, and of course, our underlying traumas that are locked within us from the environment that we were in as a child or specific events. So when we're talking about day to day, sometimes it can be simply as a subtle little feeling that Roxy and I have been having lately, of that feeling like a lot of the light workers have said they can relate to. It's like you're waiting for something to happen. It's like, will you just hurry up and have the days of darkness already, will you? Or will something just, for goodness sake, go on so that we can go on with the mission, trying to work out what we got to do next type of a feeling. But the answer is the feeling is what you're supposed to be feeling, right?
Yeah.
That's what we got to.
Yeah, so last week Pete and I were kind of bored and we're like in this holding pattern and we're looking at each other and we're kind of getting frustrated and we're being aware of this process and this energy coming out of us and it finally dropped in when I sat in meditation. It was like 2 or 3 days of boredom, seriously. Like we were like, what do we do? What do we move? What's next? But we had to sit in boredom to reflect an energy flow from our childhood. Now, for me, for example, we lived out in the country and we didn't have motorbikes. We're on property, 5 acres. It was boring. Like, so every school holidays, your parents are like, go outside and play. And it's like, well, there's nothing to freaking do outside and I'm bored. And of course, I didn't have any money, so we couldn't go and do activities. So very much we're just like left to play outside with the sisters. And just the memory of feeling bored, like for days on end, like you have your breakfast, you get dressed, you clean your room, you do your chores, and then, you have your lunch and then it's dinner time. And it's just like really boring. And when it dropped in, I said to Pete, oh my God, the energy was trying to clear out of our solar plexus the feeling of being bored that we had suppressed down. And what we worked out was Pete had the similar situation in his childhood of feeling bored. So we were both moving through this energy flow together. And what we came to was every single negative experience or something that came into your field energetically of an emotion is to be purged out at some point or another before you ascend up into higher states of consciousness. And, feelings of being bored, you would think that you wouldn't have to go through that, but yep, you do.
So these threads manifest themselves in lots of different ways, right? And they can hold us back. So if you were around your parents and they were always talking about money or the lack of money, scarcity, paying the bills, and just constantly in a state where they were thinking about it, talking about it, fighting about it, moreover, as a child, particularly in those early years, we absorb a lot of that. Now, for a lot of people, it's not conscious, it's subconscious. But have you ever had a lot of angst over spending money or making a decision? Like if you've got to spend a significant amount of money on something, I don't know what it might be. You've got to do something to the home or airline tickets, or you're doing something significant and you're like, there's this emotion of you've got to find the best deal, got to hunt, got to look, what if I pay too much, agonizing over the decision. And it's like, it's upsetting to need to actually pay out money for something. And heaven forbid that you pay too much. And I realize
Pete's
more and
got
more,
that
I've
one.
got this one.
Pete's got this
I know
one.
this one well.
And tell the reason where it links back
Oh,
to.
well, it would start with my grandfather, Peter Highbloom, number one. I'm actually Peter Highbloom, number three. So there you go. Talk about lineage. And my grandfather was stuck in a German POW camp. He's Dutch, so the name Highbloom, it's of Dutch descent. So my grandfather was in the POW camp. And in that camp, he basically, had to eat dog to survive, lost all his teeth, scarcity, lack. And finally, just through talking to the guards and etc., he would get served food first and etc. But everyone else then found out that there was just joking around with him and being friendly. So they disowned him. So he didn't even go home to the family after he got out of the wall. So there's abandonment threads. Like, I don't want to go into all my threads, but there's plenty of threads there about guilt, shame, etc., which I do have all those in there. But we go back to the prosperity. When he came out to Australia, he cut sugarcane by hand. It was tough. Then he worked for the milk factory and he was in charge of the storeroom for 40 years. That was his job. He only had that one job. So money was tight. Spending money was a big deal. But he would always have these irrational things come through. Who are you taking your car to for a service? How do you know they're not going to rip you off? How do you know they're not even going to change your oil in the first place? I'll go through your glove box and steal 20 cents and, like crazy
Constantly
irrational
thinking
stuff.
someone's going to rip you off.
Constantly in a state of anxiety about getting ripped off, paying too much for something. Someone's out to take his little thing, his little piece. So that went on to my father. God bless him. Hopefully he doesn't see this, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He's got the emotion about always needing the best deal. I'll talk about being the best negotiator under the sun. It's almost irrational how well my father needs to bargain to get a deal. Like his biggest kick out of it is going to the flea market every Saturday and screwing people down on the price and then telling us about what a good deal he got. It's like an emotion that makes him feel better. So once I see that in myself and I understand the thread, now I can laugh about it and start to see it. But I've got to shine the light on that and clear that if I am to move into a mindset of abundance, not lack. If I am holding myself subconsciously in a mindset of lack, well, I'm going to be actually stopping the abundance from flowing in. So this same thing can happen with love. This same thing can happen with friendships. This same thing can happen with workflow, all sorts of areas, right?
Yeah, and another thing that's come across our path kind of the last couple of weeks is this fear around like entities and someone is attaching to me or, controlling me, and people play that narrative. I mean, you're going to stay in a lower vibration because they're still playing that victimhood. So be mindful of taking responsibility of any thing that's coming into your vortex in terms of an energy flow, law of attraction, and ask your higher self, show me, teach me, guide me. Where does this root cause begin? Right? Don't blame the entity out the back because it's just a trick. It's a trick to keep you in a belief system, and it's false, to that there is something outside of yourself and you get to play the victim to not go into the darkness and the shadow to clear the emotional injury. It's a trick. So be mindful. You are attracting anything in your negative ways is coming into your vortex because you've got unhealed parts of you. You've got shadows in the dungeon that perhaps need to be looked at. So ask your higher self, show me, teach me, guide me. Where have I felt this in my timeline before? And once you clear that, it could be lingering past lifetimes or an ancestral lineage energy flow like Pete. He's aware of his family now. It's come through with this wealth thing about, not being ripped off and just being in the mindset of breaking that and looking at the abundance of manifestation. And when you raise your vibration, you're moving into a high energy flow. So you need to be worried and keep looking over your shoulder that something's out to get you. Your light will be your protection. So the whole point of doing this work is to raise your vibration and be like an archangel. They're not worried about entities or, finding money under the lounge for bread or whatnot. They just are receiving this beautiful flow into their vortex. They've done that lower frequency work in in the sub levels of 3D and 4D, and then moved up higher and higher, and things just come automatically now. We love a good flow day, hey, like car parks, or like we just feel really good. And that's the site of 5D consciousness. We're heading into those sub levels of 5D. Some of us are tapping in and out of it right now and starting to anchor more and more of those sub levels in the fifth dimension. And it's beautiful. So enjoy those heightened days, but also enjoy those frequency days where you're getting taught something, because that's part of the process. That's part of the mission, the experience here on earth. Yeah.
So this divine game that we're in, the matrix, really from a soul level, it's actually all what we came into experience. Like, if you understand by watching this, and you probably know this, that you're a soul having a human experience. So all of these things that you're going through, all the things that cause us strife, stress, upset, that's what we came into experience. So once you, instead of trying to avoid those, embrace them and acknowledge, so what could I learn from this? What often we see is that there is a pattern. And when you can work on the pattern, you can go deep into the relationship with yourself and realize you're not lacking in anything. You're not unworthy of anything. Often people have deep-seated false beliefs about there's something wrong with me. Why didn't mum love me enough? Or dad acknowledge me? Why wasn't he there? Why did they leave? Or why did this happen? Or why am I cursed and I don't have any parents? Or why did this thing go wrong or that thing go wrong? Or why do I always attract this sort of partner, or this sort of work experience, or these sorts of events with my physical body? What's going on? And once we can see the pattern and go in and work on the relationship with the self, as you change your relationship with yourself, knowing that you are enough, that you are worthy of love, that you have everything you need in this now moment. Once you shift out of those beliefs, and it's tricky, it's difficult. It takes time through working through those emotions, which can often creep back in. But in time, as you do that, it's easier to raise the vibration and move into the flow state, as Roxy talked about. And there is a method to be able to do that, knowing how to pick the patterns that are coming up in your life, untie the threads, release the grip of those underlying false beliefs, those traumas, that suppressed anger, fear, grief, clearing that out. And then as you unpick those energy threads, your relationship with yourself completely starts to change. And as you do that, vibration goes up. As your vibration goes up, the sorts of situations in your day-to-day life changes as well. And you just are naturally in the flow state. You're naturally positive. You don't have to do the old way. Remember the motivators? You got to think positive. And as soon as you were negative, you're like, oh God, I'm negative. Oh, where's a bird? Where's something? Where's a rainbow? I need to try and think positive. And it's like, you're forcing it. It's so much easier when you just are positive rather than trying to be positive. Positive thinking works, don't get me wrong, but it's so much easier when you just feel positive by nature. And that comes from being in the now moment, not worrying about the future, playing the movies of the past. So guys, the message is be aware. Be aware of the emotions, and to the best of your ability, do some analyzing to see if you can work out what those energy flows or patterns are, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to hear more great videos like this. And if you do need assistance on your journey, we do offer one-on-one healing sessions to unthread your root causes and help you see the theme and the pattern. And if you visit us at www.awakening.education, you can learn how you can connect with us there in a session, or you can learn about how to do this. We've just released a digital course teaching you all the things that we know in the digital course, teaching you how to access these higher frequencies, how to communicate with your higher self, with extraterrestrials and source and archangels, and just to be conscious to how to raise your vibration and all the great things that comes with that for ascension. So yeah, that's all for us for now, and we'll see you again really soon.